the biggest thing that a lot of young women need help with is talking about themselves and talking to somebody that they don't know without having a phone in their hand or whatever. I think ever since COVID, a lot of these kids have been deprived of like social interactions and, joining clubs and sports and things like that. So they're like really hungry for it, but at the same time, they're anxious about it. So I need to kind of help them figure out like, what is your story? What is your narrative? Like, how do you want to present yourself to these girls? Let's figure what that is, and like let's craft that into your conversation so that when you walk in, you have a little bit of like, a sales pitch. And I find that a lot of young girls hate talking about themselves. It's like that self, deprecation is like already there. So just really trying to get them comfortable, like, saying things about themselves and even introducing themselves to other young women.
I don't know if this question is either going to be a brilliant question or kind of like an impossible one to answer. But if you were to design like the perfect sorority rush candidate, what does the hair look like? What's the personality? What's the clothes? What's the shoes? Like, what would you kind? How? What would they look like?
Everyone's so different. I don't know if I can really answer that because I feel like mostly it's going to be a girl who has confidence, honestly. A girl who can pick up very quickly, like anything that I'm teaching her. Um, and then also, like, like if she's not the cutest girl in the world, maybe I'm not going to change her. I'm not going to make her go dye her hair and get fake eyelashes and tell her to go spend hundreds of dollars on clothes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, that's a really cute dress. But what I would do instead of red, why don't we go with blue? Because I saw you wear blue the other day and I thought it was a fantastic color on you. So it's just like more like, smoothing out the rough edges, if you will.
Biggest mistake most people make.
Not coming in prepared, just showing up and winging it, and not having good conversations. I think another big mistake is their social media presence. Like, look, I was 18. I grew up in El Paso, Texas on the border. I started going over to Mexico, when I was like 15. Like, I get it, kids drink. Biggest mistake is having social media pictures where it's lip syncing to dirty lyrics or, having red solo cups or, whatever, a white claw, anything like that in their social media because sororities don't want to see that. And I think a lot of girls think sororities do want to see that.
Do you have to manage the parents at all? And I say this because that's yeah, okay. That is the answer. I
Yes.
interviewed a previous guest was a beauty pageant coach, and he said like I manage the parents far more than I manage any of my contestants.
Yes.
What are the parents like?
So there are parents who are just like, I'm stepping away. This is her deal. Like, I'm just here to like kind of, be the person who's paying. And then there are parents who love to be on every session, love to ask questions, love to really be a part of it. I've had one mom who that was a complete, lesson learned on my end to do certain sessions with just the girl and not let the parents in. And she took over. She would answer questions for the daughter. She would interrupt and tell the daughter, like, no, this is how you should answer it. Or she would focus on certain things that weren't that important. And it was just, it was a nightmare, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think there's always that parent, right? From sporting
Yes.
events to everything, there's always that. There's
Hmm.
always that parent. Is there a
Right.
lot of? But does all of this put a lot of pressure on younger people, right? Like, is this too much pressure maybe for somebody to be handling, or is this like no, like this is life now, and you got to get used to it.
Yeah, I think there are some girls. For example, I had one girl earlier this year, and it was too much, And quite honestly, like it got very overwhelming for her because I was like, no, you need to change your picture on social media to this, or you need to start following all the sororities on Instagram. You need to put together a social resume. You need to, and it was just too much for her. Like she just could not handle it. So I was just like, all right, like if y'all want to step away, I'm perfectly fine with that. If something changes, please let me know. I'm more than happy to step back in and help. Um, and then sometimes you get girls who are just really lazy and think if they show up and look cute that they'll be fine. And like they don't want to listen to what I say. And I'm like, your parents pay good money to have me help you. So let me help you, And then they'll start to flail, and I'm telling you, at the 11th hour, they're like, "Oh my god, I need help," and, da, 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 I'm just like, "Where have you been?"